So today we're going to be showing you how to make
chocolate brownie.
So this is a bit of a favourite of ours. The tip to make the best chocolate brownie is good quality dark chocolate. You could use milk chocolate, but it's just not going to be the same. Dark chocolate is the best one to use for chocolate brownie. At home I will use shop bought chocolate, like a store own brand. If at work, I will use Calibut, which is by Coca Barry. That is the best chocolate you can get for this, in my opinion. It's a really, really good quality Belgian chocolate. Now you can pick this up in wholesalers or you can pick this up on Amazon. I would highly, highly recommend that you use that. But store-bought stuff will do for home. So the ingredients that you're going to need are
550 grams of granulated sugar, 6 eggs, 170 plain flour, 80 cocoa powder, 370 grams of dark chocolate, and 370 grams of butter.
Good girl. Right, so what a trick that I like to do at home with the chocolate is to buy a few bars of dark chocolate while I'm in the supermarket and blitz it all up in my Thermomix. You can do that in a food processor, you can do it with a knife, that'll take you quite a while, or you can do it in one of those, it's like an onion bopper that you can get in, on Amazon or anywhere like that. So it's just really handy to do that because otherwise you're standing for ages waiting to melt the chocolate if it's in blocks, or you spend a fortune in the supermarket buying chocolate chips and all the rest of it. So if you have them already blitzed up like that, that's all ready for you to do any kind of baking. So first things first, we are going to preheat the oven. You're going to be baking this on 160 degrees. I always like to preheat the oven to 10 to 20 degrees higher than what I'll be baking at, because when you open the door to put whatever it is you're making in, you're going to lose a little bit of heat. Isabelle is going to sieve the flour and the cocoa powder together. So she's going to use a whisk to just mix them through. Combining them now is a lot easier than adding them separately bit by bit at the end.
Now I have combined both cocoa powder and plain flour into the bowl, sieving it through. Now we're going to put it aside for later.
Good girl. So I've cracked all my eggs into the granulated sugar. If you've got caster sugar, you can use that. Granulated sugar takes a little bit longer to dissolve into the eggs. I like to use it at home because it's that little bit cheaper. I'm going to be whipping this up in a moment, and I'll be whipping that until it's really pale and fluffy. Once the sugar's dissolved into the eggs, it'll increase in volume and you'll be able to take the whisk attachment off and make a figure of 8 shape in the top, and that will hold for a second before it sinks back down. Once you can do your figure of 8, you know that you're ready to start adding the other bits and pieces. While that's doing, Isabelle is going to be melting the butter in a pan on the stove on a low heat. Pop that in there for me. That's it, well done. Some recipes will tell you to use a bain-marie method, which is putting a glass bowl over the top of a pan of water, not letting the water touch the bottom of the bowl. That's just going to create extra washing up for you. No one wants that. So what we're going to do is we are going to melt the butter and then take it off of the heat once it's melted, and then add the chocolate straight into that butter mixture and stir it nice and quick. Now, just before I do this, I'm going to show you how to prepare your baking tin. Ideally, you want a non-stick baking tin. I've got my one from Lakeland. I've had this about 4 years. I originally bought this to make a wedding cake with this brownie mixture, and it has never failed me yet. I really recommend these. What you want to do is get some baking parchment. I prefer baking parchment to greaseproof paper. I find that it doesn't stick. Really good stuff. So you want to get that the same width as your baking tin. Then what we're going to do is we're going to fold that in half. A bit like when you was making snowflake decorations at Christmas. So fold it in half, then into a quarter. And then we take the edge, make a triangle, and then fold that again. So now you should have a shape like this. So you want to put the point into the middle, like so. You want to find the middle of your baking tin, and then just cut along the edge there. So if you're making a snowflake, this will be the point where you do shapes down the edge. Now opening that up, it's a perfect circle and perfect size for your tin. If your tin isn't a very good quality non-stick one, then I would recommend just greasing around the sides with a bit of butter. What you don't want to do is have your brownie stuck in there. Right, that's ready. Oven's preheating. I'm now going to turn this on to whip up while Izabelle's melting that butter. Right, so now the butter is melted. Are you alright to carry that across, is it?
Yeah.
Be really careful. That's it. Onto the chopping board. Well done. Right, so now that is melted, we're taking it straight off of the heat. What are you going to do?
Now pour in the chocolate and start mixing it until it's all glossy.
And what's the best shape to stir it in?
The figure of 8.
Well done. So while Izabelle's melting that chocolate, my eggs and sugar are at the consistency that I want them. So the sugar has dissolved, and you can see that that is nice and thick, and I can do a figure of 8 and it sits on top. So you can see it's a really nice pale colour. So once Izabelle's combined that together, we'll pour that into this and we'll start it off on a low speed so that you don't coat your kitchen in brownie mixture. And then we'll gradually turn the speed up until the chocolate mix is fully combined into the egg and sugar mixture. How are you doing? Is that all done?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well done. Right, let me lift that back up. Right, go on then, pop that in there. Well done. Scrape all the sides and bottom. Okey-doke. Right, so that is all in there now. Can you do that? Well done. Now turn that, can you reach around and turn that up slowly? That way. So we're just going to combine the two mixtures together, and then after that, a spoonful at a time, we will be adding in our cocoa powder and flour mixture. Right, and start turning it up a little bit now.
Now the egg and sugar is mixed in with the butter and chocolate. We're now gradually, while that's stirring, going to add the cocoa and flour to thicken it up, and then once the cocoa powder and the flour has mixed in, your brownie mix is done.
It's important to add the flour and cocoa mixture in gradually on a low speed at this point, so that you don't coat the entire kitchen in mixture. Someone has done for me once before. Right, the brownie mixture's now done. What we're gonna do next is
now we're going to pour it in, scoop it into our brownie tin. My mum showed you how to prepare.
So the mixture is really thick and glossy. So, and you can see that you can do the figure of 8 on this, and that figure of 8 will literally just sit on the top of the mixture now. So you can do different variations of this brownie if you want to. I like it just standard how it is. It's really, really good. But if you wanted to add in some different elements to it, you could do different dried fruits. Cranberries would work well. You could get some dried apricots, that'd be good. You could put some nuts in there if you wanted. Almonds would be nice in this. Macadamia nuts would be really good in this. Something that we use quite a lot in our baking is pumpkin and linseeds. We've got quite a good cookie recipe that we use these in, and these work quite well inside the brownie as well because they're different texture. What I wouldn't do is add any flavour or ingredient that is going to take away from the chocolate flavour. So you really want to showcase the quality chocolate that you've used. Right, do you want to start scraping that in? So we're using a large tin for this. You can make individuals in like cupcake cases. I would say if you were going to do that, to definitely put this mixture in a piping bag instead of trying to spoon it into the cupcake cases, because otherwise you are just asking for an absolute mess. A piping bag is going to be a much cleaner and more consistent way of making like cupcake individual sizes. If you are going to do individual sizes, I would say that it would, for a standard cupcake size, it would probably only take about 12 to 15 minutes in the oven, whereas this is going to take between 45 and 50 minutes. Now that's in my oven, it takes 45 to 50 minutes. I've got a fan assisted oven, but every oven's different. So try it once, try it twice and see what timings work for you. Right, all of the mixture is now in the baking tin. What I'm going to do is get the spatula and just make an S shape across there. Keep going backwards and forwards just to smooth it out. That's it. Give it a little shake. Now that's nice and level and ready to go into the oven. When this is finished in the oven, something that you want to look for is a crack. If you're using a square tin, the crack will usually be down the middle. If you're using a round tin, it kind of goes around the outside and you'll have like a hat lifting off of the brownie. The crack is quite important. That is what you want. That's telling you that you're right near to the end. I wouldn't treat it like a normal sponge where you skewer it, because if you treat it like a normal sponge, you skewer it and nothing at all comes off of it, then you've gone a little bit too far, because you do want it to be gooey in the middle. That's the beauty of a brownie anyway. The brownie's now finished in the oven. You can see that it's got that crack going all the way around the edge and that it's slightly lifted. Now I did wait for this to cool down before I lifted it out of the baking tin. If you don't do that, you are in risk of breaking it. I've done it a few times before. Wait for it to cool down slightly before you cut it. This is nice to eat cold, or you can eat it warm. It goes really nice with a chocolate sauce and some vanilla ice cream. So there you have it, our chocolate brownie.
Brownie is is the most favourite chocolate brownie in the whole wide world for my school, especially my teachers in my class, and one of them, Miss Rose.
This is a bit of a firm favourite for friends and family of mine as well. I've made wedding cakes, engagement cakes with this brownie, and at work we use this as our wedding cake too. So it is a really popular dessert. Hope you enjoy it.